Welcome back to the Deep Dive. It is Saturday, January 24th, 2026.
Here we are.
And today, we are opening up a file that, on the surface, everyone thinks they already know.
Oh, absolutely.
If you've been on the internet in the last, 20 years, you have an opinion on this person.
Yeah.
You might love her, you might roll your eyes at her, but you absolutely cannot ignore her.
It is functionally impossible. You really can't talk about modern celebrity or the influencer economy or even, the definition of the American dream in the 21st century without talking about Kim Kardashian.
But here is the catch, and this is the reason we're doing this deep dive today, right now.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at just the headlines from the last 90 days, so basically late 2025 into where we are now, the story has really changed.
Yeah.
That whole invincible billionaire narrative is taking some heavy, heavy hits.
It really feels like the armor is cracking. I mean, for the last decade, maybe more, Kim has been on this just relentless upward trajectory. It was just winning, winning, winning. You had Skims, you had the law school journey, this whole rebranding of herself as a serious person, and then boom,
Right.
October, November, December of 2025 happened, and suddenly the machine looks, well, it looks mortal.
Mortal, that's the perfect word. I mean, think about it. She's 45 years old now.
Yep.
She's a billionaire. She's a mother of 4. But if you've been following the news cycle, it feels like we're at this really pivotal moment in her story.
A crossroads.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We need to parse through the noise because there's a lot of it. We've got health scares, we have professional failures, and we have creative flops.
That is a very specific trifecta of bad news.
It is.
And what's so fascinating is that for so long, the Kim Kardashian brand was all about invincibility. It was perfection.
Curation.
Total curation. But if we look at what's happened just in the last quarter, we see this messy reality just bleeding right through the filters.
Okay, so let's start with the health scare because I think that really rattled a lot of people.
It did. In October 2025, she revealed she'd been diagnosed with a brain aneurysm.
Which is just objectively terrifying.
Completely. But what makes that so significant for our analysis, beyond the obvious medical seriousness of it all,
Is how she talked about it.
is how she contextualized it. She explicitly linked it to stress.
Right. Specifically, the lingering stress from her split with Kanye West.
And that is a massive admission.
Huge.
It is. For a figure who has built an entire career on maintaining this very specific, controlled image.
The idea that she's a machine.
Exactly. A machine who can handle any amount of scrutiny or pressure. Admitting to a stress-induced physical breakdown it's a massive show of vulnerability.
It pierces the robot image, for sure.
It really does.
And then, just a month later, November, we get the news that she had failed the California bar exam.
Mm-hmm.
And we are not talking about the baby bar this time, right? We need to be clear about that.
Correct. And we should be really precise here for you listening. She passed the baby bar, which is the first-year law student's exam back in December 2021.
And that was a huge deal for her.
It was a huge victory, especially after failing it 3 times. But she finished her law reading program in 2025, and she sat for the actual general California bar exam.
And failing that.
Failing that, especially after such a public, years-long journey toward legal legitimacy, is a significant blow to the narrative she's been so carefully building.
It really is the Legally Blonde arc just hitting a brick wall.
Totally.
And then, to cap it all off, we had the premiere of All's Fair in November 2025.
Yes. The Ryan Murphy legal drama.
Where she played a divorce lawyer.
Yeah.
The irony. But I remember the hype for this was huge.
The hype was deafening. And look, the ratings were there. You can't deny that. It was the biggest Hulu scripted premiere in 3 years. People tuned in.
But the reviews.
Oh, the reviews were brutal.
I read one that literally called it a crime against television.
I saw that one. Another critic called her performance stiff and effectless. So you have this perfect storm, this triad of events.
A health crisis, an academic failure, and a critical flop.
All in about 60 days.
So the question we're asking today is, why now? Why are we doing a deep dive on Kim Kardashian in January 2026? It's because she seems to be at this crossroads. We want to move beyond the tabloids and really truly understand the architecture of this empire she's built.
Yeah.
How did she go from being Paris Hilton's closet organizer to a woman worth $1.7 billion? And what does this recent turbulence tell us about the future of that empire?
And for our learner listeners out there, the big takeaway we're going to be hunting for today is that shift. The shift from licensing fame to owning equity.
Yes.
That is the secret sauce. It's the difference between being a face on a billboard and, owning the company that actually bought the billboard.
I love that framing.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, let's do it. Let's rewind. We have to go back to the beginning.
Way back.
Before the private jets, before the Met Gala. We need to go back to Los Angeles, 1980.
Kimberly Noel Kardashian,
Whoa.
born October 24th, 1980. And look, to understand Kim, you have to understand the family context. She wasn't born into obscurity.
Not at all.
Her father, Robert Kardashian, was a very prominent attorney.
O.J. Simpson's defense attorney, famously.
Yes, and not just his attorney. O.J. was actually Kim's godfather.
Wow, I always forget that detail.
So from a very, very young age, she was adjacent to this high-stakes, media frenzy energy.
She grew up in it.
She did. Her mother, Kris Jenner, formerly Kris Kardashian, née Houghton, is of Scottish and Dutch ancestry, while Robert was of Armenian descent. That mix is really key to her identity.
And then her parents divorced in 1991.
Right. And that's when the family dynamic gets even more complex.
Because Kris marries Caitlyn Jenner.
Then Bruce, yes, an Olympic decathlon winner, a national hero. So you suddenly have this blended family with stepbrothers, stepsisters, and then eventually Kendall and Kylie.
It's a full house. It's a modern media dynasty in the making.
It is. She went to Marymount High School, a Roman Catholic all-girls school. But here's a detail I love because I think it speaks to her work ethic really early on. People assume she was just handed everything.
Right, that she never worked a day in her life.
Right. But there was this specific incident when she was 16. She totaled her car.
The classic teenager mistake.
Right. But her father, Robert, didn't just write a check and say, be more careful next time. No. He agreed to buy her a new one, but on one very specific condition. She had to sign a contract saying she would pay for all future damages herself.
So she went to work.
She went to work. She got a job at a clothing store called Body in Encino, and she worked there for 4 years. She even helped open their Calabasas location.
So she wasn't just folding sweaters in the back.
Not at all. She resigned in 2000 after her first marriage, but that retail experience is so important. It grounded her in the basics of selling clothes, which, if you fast forward 20 years to Skims...
It's exactly what she's doing on a global scale.
Precisely. She learned the floor. She learned what women look for when they shop, what they touch, what they try on.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
But before she was selling Skims, she was organizing closets. I feel like this era, the 2003 to 2006 era, is often just glossed over, but it's fascinating. She was working as a stylist for Brandy, the R&B singer.
And that period, it wasn't without its own controversy. This is a part of the hustle that got pretty messy.
Okay, what happened?
In 2008, Brandy's mother, Sonja Norwood, filed a lawsuit against her.
Against Kim.
Against Kim and her sisters. She alleged that back in 2004, she had authorized Kim to make one single purchase on her American Express card. Just one.
And I guess it wasn't just one.
She alleged that Kim and her sisters then ran up over $120,000 in unauthorized charges.
Oh, wait, $120,000?
$120,000.
That is not an accident. That is not an, oops, I used the wrong card.
No, it's a massive amount. And Norwood claimed most of the charges were at the Kardashian family boutique, Dash.
Of course they were.
Now, Kim denied it all, of course, and the lawsuit was dismissed after a confidential settlement in 2009. But it shows you that the road to the top wasn't exactly smooth or, clean. She was scraping and clawing to get there. It suggests a certain level of hunger and maybe a lack of boundaries that really defined her early climb.
And then after Brandy, of course, came the Paris Hilton era.
The closet organizer era. So by 2006, she's working as Paris Hilton's stylist. She's appearing in the background of The Simple Life.
Literally organizing her closet on camera.
Literally. But she wasn't just some quiet assistant in the background. Shiraz Hassan, a PR strategist, he noted back then that Kim was, quote, ready to do whatever it takes.
I remember seeing those old photos of them leaving nightclubs. The paparazzi would just be swarming Paris, and Kim would just be there slightly to the side, but she was always in the frame.
Oh,
it felt like she was studying.
She was absolutely studying. She was in a master class. A photographer named Rick Mendoza mentioned that after he shot Kim with Paris at a club called Hyde, the tabloids actually started asking for her specifically.
So she was already getting her own buzz.
She had a look. She had a presence. Kim herself later said that Paris literally gave me a career. And she's not wrong. That proximity to Paris Hilton taught her exactly how the paparazzi game worked. She learned that attention is a resource and you can mine it.
But the real tipping point, the event horizon, the moment everything changed, That was 2007,
February 2007, the release of the sex tape with Ray J.
which was actually filmed years earlier, in 2003.
Correct. So it leaks, it gains national attention, and Kim's first move is to sue Vivid Entertainment.
Which makes sense.
But then, just 3 months later, she drops the suit, and she settles for a reported $5 million. In exchange, Vivid gets permission to distribute the tape.
And that timing is, let's just say, highly suspicious to a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
Because what happened in October of that same year?
Keeping Up with the Kardashians premiered October 2007.
The proximity is just undeniable.
Critics have argued for years that the tape was a publicity stunt to launch the show. Kris Jenner has always denied it. But whether it was planned or just an expertly handled crisis, the result is the same.
The show became a juggernaut.
A complete juggernaut. It ran until 2021, 294 episodes, plus all the spinoffs like Kourtney and Kim Take New York.
And this is really where we get that label, famous for being famous.
Exactly. I mean, Barbara Walters put her on the 10 most fascinating people list in 2010, but people were still asking, yeah, but what does she do?
Right?
And honestly, if you look at the early business ventures, the answer wasn't super clear yet. It was all over the place.
Oh, you mean what we're calling phase one, throwing spaghetti at the wall?
Yes, phase one. This is the era of endorsements that feel, let's say, indiscriminate.
That's a polite way of putting it.
We're talking diet pills, waist trainers, Charmin toilet paper.
The Carl's Jr. commercials where she's eating a salad in bed.
It was chaotic. And the music career. We cannot forget Jam, Turn It Up.
Oh, we really should try to forget it, but we can't.
Released in December 2010, Kanye even had a cameo in the video, but the reviews. One critic called it dead-brained and said it made her the worst singer in the reality TV universe.
Ouch. That's harsh.
But the lesson here is so crucial for you to understand. In this phase, from roughly 2007 to 2013, she was renting her name.
Say more about that.
She was taking a fee, maybe $300,000, maybe $500,000 for a post or an appearance, and she was letting someone else use her brand to sell their product. She had no equity.
No ownership.
None. She was a billboard. And if she stopped posting, the checks stopped coming in.
And that's the trap that so many influencers fall into, right? They make great cash flow, but they don't actually build wealth.
Exactly.
So when does this shift happen? When does she stop being the billboard and start becoming the owner of the billboard company?
The pivot point is 2014. And it comes from a surprising place. A mobile game.
Kim Kardashian. Hollywood. I admit, I downloaded this. I played it.
A lot of people did. And this game is so much more important to her business history than people give it credit for. It launched in June 2014.
Okay.
In the first 5 days it was out, it made $1.6 million.
5 days?
5 days.
That is staggering.
By 2016, 40% of her entire annual earnings, which were $51 million that year, came just from this one game.
Wow.
But here's the mechanism that matters. It's a term from the tech world. Customer acquisition cost, or SAC.
Okay, break that down for us.
Usually, a game studio has to spend millions of dollars on ads on Facebook, on Instagram, to get people to download their apps. It's really expensive.
Right.
Kim didn't have to spend a dime on marketing. She just tweeted the link to her millions of followers.
Her customer acquisition cost was zero.
Exactly, which meant her profit margins were astronomical. And it proved something vital.
What's that?
It proved that her fan base wasn't just a bunch of passive TV viewers. They were willing to engage in digital microtransactions.
Yeah.
They would pay real money to be her in a virtual world.
That feels like the proof of concept for everything that came later.
It is.
If they'll buy virtual clothes in a game for a virtual version of her, they will probably buy real clothes in real life.
Precisely. And that leads us directly to phase 3, the unicorn, the era of Skims. But even that didn't start smoothly. Remember the original name? Kimono.
Oh, right. In 2019, she tried to trademark the word kimono for her shapewear line.
And the backlash was immediate, and it was international. The mayor of Kyoto actually wrote her a public letter asking her to reconsider.
The hashtag kimono was trending everywhere.
It was a genuine PR disaster. But, and this is a recurring theme with her, she listened. She didn't get defensive and double down.
She pivoted.
She pivoted. In August 2019, she rebranded to Skims.
Which honestly is a much better name anyway. It fits the aesthetics so much better.
It really does. And the growth of Skims since then has been absolutely rocket-fueled. It is a textbook example of hypergrowth.
So what do the numbers look like?
In 2021, it was valued at $1.6 billion.
Already a unicorn.
By 2023, that valuation jumped to $4 billion.
Double it and then some.
And as of November 2025, just a couple of months ago, Skims is valued at $5 billion.
$5 billion for shapewear. That is astronomical. And it's not
Yeah.
even just shapewear anymore, is it?
No, it's a full lifestyle brand now. They have menswear, which launched in 2023. They have physical retail stores that opened in 2024 and 2025. And look at the partnerships. This is where she separates herself from just being another influencer brand.
You're talking about the sports partnerships.
I am. In 2023, they became the official underwear partner of the NBA and the WNBA.
Which at first sounds kind of strange,
But
right?
it does. You think the NBA needs shapewear, but it's about compression gear for recovery. It's a massive market. She found a utility for her product that went way beyond just vanity.
And they've been dressing Team USA for the Olympics.
Since 2020. So that's the 2020 Summer Olympics, 2022 Winter, 2024 Summer, and the upcoming 2026 Winter Olympics.
Incredible. And just recently in 2025, they launched Nike Skims.
Which is a massive, massive validation. Nike is famously protective of its brand. For them to partner with a celebrity brand on a joint activewear operation shows that Skims is seen as a legitimate athletic contender, not just, some vanity merchandising.
So this is where that learner takeaway really lands.
It's the whole story. She went from getting paid to wear someone else's waist trainer on Instagram to owning a $5 billion company that partners with the NBA and Nike. That is the power of equity.
It's incredible. But you can't really talk about her business without talking about the personal life that fuels the fame.
They're completely intertwined.
Her relationships are almost like different eras of the brand itself.
They absolutely are. And again, looking back from our vantage point in 2026, you can see the patterns so clearly. You had the early elopement with the music producer Damon Thomas in 2000.
She was only 19.
19. She later said she was on ecstasy during the wedding ceremony and alleged he was abusive. That was sort of the escape era.
And then, of course, the infamous Chris Humphries marriage in 2011. 72 days.
The stunt marriage, as many people called it.
Right. There are a lot of allegations around that.
There was a lawsuit from a publicist named Jonathan Jackson who claimed the whole thing was staged for TV ratings. Now, Kim settled that lawsuit, and he eventually apologized, but the public perception damage was real.
People felt duped.
They did. There was actually a petition with hundreds of thousands of signatures to get her show taken off the air. That was the moment the brand almost died.
But then came Kanye. Or
He.
the Kanye era, from around 2014 to 2021. This is by far the most transformative period of her life and her brand.
Because he wasn't just a husband.
He wasn't just a husband, he was a creative director. He completely overhauled her closet. There's that famous scene in the show where he comes in with his stylist and just throws out all her clothes.
It seemed so harsh at the time, all those colorful dresses.
It was. But he threw out the cheesy bandage dresses and brought in high fashion. Given Balmain.
He elevated her.
He completely elevated her. He got her into the Met Gala when Anna Wintour had previously made it clear she was persona non grata. He got her on the cover of Vogue. He took her from reality star to muse.
And you can still see that influence in the Skims aesthetic?
Absolutely. The minimalism, the monochromatic tones, the whole vibe, that is pure Kanye influence. But that all ended in a very, very messy public divorce, which was finalized in 2022.
A settlement that included $200,000 a month in child support from him to her. But the aftermath has been heavy. She dropped West from her name legally.
And as we mentioned in the intro, she recently cited the stress of that split as a direct factor in her aneurysm diagnosis.
Which suggests that the emotional toll was much, much higher than the sort of cool single mom image she tried to project for a while.
And post-Kanye, it's been a bit of a mix, relationship-wise. She had that 9-month thing with Pete Davidson in 2021 and 2022.
Which felt like a palate cleanser. Just fun, light.
For sure. And then Odell Beckham Jr. from 2023 into 2024.
Right. But there's one event that I think defines her personal narrative more than any marriage, more than any boyfriend.
The Paris robbery.
The Paris robbery in 2016.
That was just terrifying. Gunpoint, bound with duct tape in the bathtub of her hotel room.
The grandpa robbers, as the press called them, because they were these older men. They stole $10 million in jewelry, including that massive engagement ring from Kanye.
And for a long time, that was just an open wound in her story.
It was. But we finally got some closure on that just recently.
That's right. The trial finally concluded in April 2025, just last year.
And Kim testified in person. 8 of the defendants were convicted. And I think that trial, happening just last year, probably brought a lot of that trauma right back to the surface for her.
But it also marked a permanent shift in how she presents herself.
A huge shift.
You notice she stopped wearing as much jewelry in public after 2016. She stopped posting her location in real time. The aesthetic became more minimalist, more austere.
That was a direct result of the robbery. The bling ring era of her life ended that night in Paris.
For good. So we have the business empire, we have the personal drama, but there's this third pillar that she's been building really specifically in the last 5 or 6 years. The quest for legitimacy. She doesn't just want to be rich. She wants to be respected.
This is the Legally Blonde arc, as you called it, and it started with activism. And look, we have to give credit where credit is due. Her work on prison reform has been substantive.
It has not just been for show.
Not at all. It started with Alice Marie Johnson in 2018.
Right. She lobbied President Trump directly for her clemency.
And it worked. Alice Marie Johnson was serving a life sentence for a first-time nonviolent drug offense. Kim met with Trump in the Oval Office, and he commuted her sentence. She got her out.
But she didn't just stop there. That wasn't a one-off.
No, she got deeply involved in the First Step Act, which was a major piece of bipartisan criminal justice reform. And Van Jones, who is a serious policy advocate.
A very serious guy.
He went on record, on camera, stating that the First Step Act simply would not have passed without Kim's involvement. She brought the spotlight, and more importantly, she brought access to the White House that they didn't have.
She also funded the 90 Days to Freedom campaign, which freed 17 inmates. She advocated for Melissa Lucio on death row, for the rapper Gunna, who was denied bond. This wasn't just a photo op.
No, it was real work. And that success seemed to fuel her desire to become a lawyer properly.
Right. She chose to read the law, which is a valid but very difficult path in California where you apprentice under a lawyer instead of going to a traditional law school.
A much harder road in some ways.
And it has not been easy for her.
Not at all. As we already noted, she failed the baby bar 3 times before finally passing, and that showed a lot of resilience. A lot of people would have quit.
For sure.
Yeah.
But now, this recent news from November 2025, that she failed the Maine California bar exam on her first attempt. That feels like a different kind of beast.
It is. And it raises a really fascinating question, doesn't it?
Does failing the bar negate the real-world work she's already done?
That's the tension. You have someone who has effectively changed laws and freed prisoners without a law license. So does she actually need the piece of paper to do the work?
Probably not.
Probably not. But for her, I think it's about proving she has the intellect, not just the influence. It's about personal validation.
Right.
But the failure is this stark reminder that influence can't buy you a passing grade on a standardized test. It's one of the few things in her life she can't just brand her way out of.
Speaking of things she can't just brand her way out of, let's talk about her other big attempt at legitimacy, acting. This has been a real roller coaster.
A fascinating pivot. In 2023, she did American Horror Story, Delicate. She played a character named Siobhan Corbin, a ruthless publicist.
And people actually liked her in that. The reviews were surprisingly good.
They were. Critics said she was perfect for the role, but let's be honest with ourselves.
She was playing a version of her mom.
She was essentially playing a heightened version of Kris Jenner, or even herself. It wasn't exactly a huge stretch.
Right, but then came All's Fair in 2025.
Ryan Murphy again. This time she's the lead. She plays a divorce lawyer, which, again, given her life, is just heavy on the irony.
And she's acting alongside heavy hitters, Naomi Watts, Glenn Close.
Exactly. And as we discussed at the top, the critics tore it apart, brain dead, stiff. It really exposed that she might have some serious range issues.
So when she has to play someone other than a version of a Kardashian,
the cracks really start to show.
But she isn't stopping. I saw she has a movie coming up on Netflix called The Fifth Wheel. It's a comedy.
Okay.
And get this, she's in talks to play the antagonist in a live-action Bratz movie.
A Bratz movie.
Yes.
That feels oddly and deeply appropriate.
It really does, right? It's full circle. The dolls that were modeled to look like her, and now she's in the movie.
But it shows she is still throwing spaghetti, even as a billionaire. She hasn't just settled into being a quiet business owner. She still craves that camera. She still craves the validation of being an entertainer, not just a mogul.
So let's look at the scoreboard, financially speaking.
Yeah.
As we sit here in 2026, what is the net worth?
Forbes estimates it at about $1.7 billion. That is driven largely, of course, by her stake in Skims.
But she also makes a staggering amount of money on social media.
I mean, the numbers are just hard to comprehend. We are talking anywhere from $1.68 million up to over $4 million per sponsored post.
$4 million for one post on Instagram.
It's hard to wrap your head around. It's the economy of attention at its absolute peak.
But not everything she touches turns to gold. We should mention Skyke Partners, her private equity firm she launched in 2022.
Right, with Jay Sammons, a former partner from the Carlyle Group. That seemed like a huge move to become a serious investor.
It did. But what's the latest on that?
Well, the update is that in December 2024, so just over a year ago, she quietly stepped down as a managing partner and moved to just an advisory role.
And her mother, Kris Jenner.
Kris exited the firm entirely, so it signals a pullback.
Why do you think that is?
Maybe finance just wasn't the right fit. Or maybe, and I think this is more likely, she realized that her time is better spent on media and on skims than on doing, due diligence for private equity deals.
It seems like she's refining her portfolio. She's focusing on what actually works.
Or perhaps she's just tired. I mean, let's go back to the aneurysm. Let's go back to the stress. You can't do everything.
Right.
You can't be a law student, a private equity manager, a full-time actress, a mother of 4, and run a $5 billion company all at once without something somewhere breaking.
And maybe that's what we're seeing in late 2025 and early 2026, the breaking point.
It's the brand paradox in action. She is famous for being famous, yet she works harder than almost anyone in the industry.
She champions prison reform while living in a level of ultra-wealth most people can't even imagine.
She's a beauty icon who sells perfection, but she publicly battles psoriasis and now this brain aneurysm. She is just a walking contradiction.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what does it all mean? How do we synthesize the Kim Kardashian story here in 2026?
I think ultimately Kim Kardashian serves as a mirror for modern culture. She reflects the monetization of the self. She blurred the line between reality and reality TV so thoroughly that, we can't even tell the difference anymore. It's all just content.
And for the learner, for the listener trying to pull a lesson from this, the takeaway is crystal clear. Equity over endorsement.
100%. Don't just take the check to be the billboard. Build the asset so you can buy the billboard. Look at how she utilized her platform.
Yeah.
She didn't just sell other people's stuff forever. She built a massive platform. Then she built a product for that platform. That is the blueprint.
And also resilience. You just have to look at the trajectory. A sex tape scandal to the White House to lobby the president of the United States, that requires a level of thick skin that is almost superhuman.
It does. And that's why, despite the bar failure and the acting flop, I would never, ever bet against her.
So here's my final question for you and for our listeners to think about. With the bar exam failure and the critical flop of All's Fair, has she finally hit the ceiling? Is this the limit of her ability to pivot into new arenas?
It's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? History would say betting against her is a really bad idea. Every single time she stumbles, the 72-day marriage, the robbery, the kimono backlash, she seems to reinvent herself into something bigger and more powerful. But age and health are formidable opponents. They're undefeated. So is this just the setup for the next act? Or is this the beginning of a slow recede into just being a legacy billionaire who, manages her investments?
And here's a thought to leave you with. Does she even need the law license at this point? Is her influence her real license?
That might be the ultimate lesson in all of this. She doesn't need the credentials to wield the power. She already has it. The bar exam is just a vanity metric for her at this point. The real power is the platform.
Fascinating stuff. We will definitely be watching to see what the rest of 2026 holds for Kim Kardashian. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.